careers are, I feel like ultimately we do what we do because it holds our greatest healing, and we're attracted to do that, which we do because we're seeking that, it's like the unconscious is always seeking resolution, just like water is always seeking its own level. And, so what do we seek? What are we seeking? What was I seeking? Because I believe we're all seeking recognition, right? Meaning and purpose, belonging. Just have to remember that we do belong. And, truth, with the big T. What is that, So we're seeking. But here's what's happened, is I didn't really, and some of you know my story, I was adopted, and I was seeking mother, and I didn't even know it. Because people would say, oh, don't you want to know who your mother is? I'm like, no, I feel like, I feel like this is where I belong, because the mother that raised me, that's my soul chose to come into this family, and that's all good, So I never sought that one consciously. But I was seeking through everything else, eating yogurt, through drugs, just sex, you name it, I was a seeker. So, a few years back, when my mother passed away, I learned that she was my biological grandmother, and that my sister had had me when she was barely 14 years old. And I began a descent. Now, these are the people, and that my father was my biological father. He was my sister's stepfather, sister and mother's stepfather. And so here I was looking in the eyes of the family that I was blood related to, having no idea that I was blood related. So I became a seeker. And when that knowledge came, I began a descent into the underworld. It was a death, really, to who I thought I was, and a death to who I had been in my life. But the revelation that I had as I, went through that death process and then began to reemerge was, one, that truth that I love this part of this truth is that it was never any further than right in front of me. Mother was never any further than right in front of me all along. How often do we search it? The Wizard of Oz, right? No wonder I loved that movie as a kid. It was my favorite movie. I could never, ever watch it enough. Black and white and colors. I just wanted to watch The Wizard of Oz because, it was right there all along. And the other thing that was a little more recent was when I talk about a death, going through a death process or descending into the underworld to, those shadow pieces to learn, what had been in shadow for so long, is that that it's a death of the ego. And, I think ego really gets a bad rap, but I don't really feel like it's anything more than what we're identified with. What are we identifying? Do we identify ourselves as children of the universe? A child of the universe, which Joyce mentioned earlier today. We're all children of the universe. I love the Desiderata. I think as a kid, that was the one poem, even as a kid and then as an adult, that I always had on my wall. I'll go placidly amidst the noise and haze. I am a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. I have a right to be here. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew I had a right to be here, even as a kid. So what happened was, what I was identified with was being a spiritual seeker. And it died. And I didn't know who I got lost. It was like, so what now? Kind of like, you have something that you really, 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 really want. Let's say it's actually I had a friend, I can tell you an actual story. He really wanted an airplane. He wanted to own his own airplane. He knew how to fly and he wanted his own airplane. And he did what it took, and finally one day he got his own airplane. And he was so excited, and he was taking his friends for a ride on the airplane, and he did that for about a year, and then he got home. And then he went, what now? everything I had focused on was in achieving and attaining this one thing, this one dream. I had this dream to own an airplane. But now I have this airplane, and it's like, I don't even have it. And anyway, he ended up becoming an amazing humanitarian, and he's currently building model schools in Guatemala and just enriching his life through service. And a beautiful human being. But I was kind of at that point of like, so what now? Who am I now? And what I realized is that I'm no longer a spiritual seeker, I'm a spiritual celebrant. So this is why I was so excited about coming today to share with you, is because I get to celebrate the mothers in my life, all of the mothers in my life, the great mother, the physical mothers, the aunties, the neighbors, all of the people who held and loved us and taught us how to care for one another. And, because we all get lost from time to time. But here's the real piece that I'm going to share with you. I got a Mother's Day card, the first one, from my son, who's in prison. And he is a very loved son. He has a mother who loves him very, very much. And there's a lot in prison that don't have anybody that ever cared to talk to them or see them. So I would encourage you, if there's just a little something that you could do, would be to write somebody in prison. And this was made by one of the inmates there. And I remember when he was little, and I would sit on my back porch and play. When I could put the kids to bed, that was my time. And I would sit on the back porch and I would play my guitar. And I remember listening to songs like Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, and I love folk music. There was a folk and acoustic music show I listened to every week, and I'd record it, and I just would listen to all of those songs. And I remember listening to some of those, the mother lamenting the son who went to prison songs. So how old was I? 24, somewhere in there. And thinking, that's got to be a mother's worst nightmare. That's got to be the worst thing that could ever happen to a mother. Right? I mean, if you lose a son to death, they're gone. You grieve that one. And it's happened to me. And there are extenuating circumstances, of course, that was not. But here's what I really want to share with you, because everything happens for a reason. And I want to share with you the quote. My son is a very spiritual human being, doesn't really know about him. He was married in this church. And this is the quote that he put on the Mother's Day card to me. The way that can be understood is not the eternal cosmic way. Just as an idea that we know in words is not the infinite idea. And yet, this perfect way is the source of all spirit and matter. Expressing itself, it is the mother of all created things. So, I just feel so blessed to be able to be on this journey. Knowing that I'm being given an opportunity to love deeper, to love wider, to learn compassion, forgiveness. And I'd like to ask you just to close your eyes now for a minute. I just want to take us through a little piece of gratitude for the mothers in our lives. And if you would just feel the connection, maybe you could send a little anchor into the earth. Feel your feet connecting to the ground. Mother Earth beneath your feet. and suspend the old storyline just a few moments. And open up our hearts and our arms to receive the love and the embrace of the great Mother. To receive abundant blessings and infinite wealth. She is the source of infinite wealth. She is the source of health and healing and beauty. She is what grounds our visions and our dreams. Let us give thanks for all of our mothers. Mother Earth, grandmother, sister mothers, aunties, Holy Mother, our church mothers, Rosemary Hatfield, Louise Dillard, and the mothers who fought to give us the right to vote as women, the mothers who fought to free the slaves. Let us give thanks for our mother's mother's mother, all the way back to the very beginning. And know that we carry all of them with us, and the responsibility to use our freedom wisely. Some mothers gave up careers to stay home and raise children. Some mothers paved the way for their own daughters to have careers. Our capacity to give and receive love has its foundation in our relationship with Mother. Let's remember the long line of ancestral mothers who stand behind us. Just feel what it feels like to know how many mothers are standing behind you. And acknowledge how important we are to them. How important we are to ourselves and to each other. And more than ever, we need for them to show us their faces. So as we take this next precious breath, let it be their breath. Let us be a fresh breath, a promise for the future. And ask yourself, who am I becoming as a result of this great love? Who am I becoming? What could I do to bring peace to my mother? And as we bless our mothers and bless ourselves and come back to this beautiful day of celebration, let us go forth with determination and willingness to make our mothers pleased with the choices that we are making now that create a future full of joy and hope and peace. just want to share a couple of quotes with you before I end. When I was a midwife, when I was practicing midwifery, I had the opportunity to meet Sheila Kitzinger. She's a cultural anthropologist, and she wrote a book called Women as Mothers. And I found this study fascinating because, when we grow up in a certain culture, there's a lot of things that we take for granted, a lot of things we don't even think about. And I was like, how do women mother in other cultures?